Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Danny and Stan's Football Weekend, presented by Park University. It was a pretty spectacular weekend. Even if we split the games we usually look at intently, there certainly was spectacular things going on the side of the wins and intriguing things going on the side of the losses as well. So a lot of fantastic college and pro football over the weekend. Tough to digest it all. If you want to get an idea of how difficult it was for me, you can check out the blog page at DannyClinkscale.com. Man cave I do not have, so I was doing some real fancy work with the DVR over the weekend to try and get in all the things that I need to talk about, like here at Danny and Stan's Football Weekend, and also the World Series that I wanted to spend a lot of time with. So no World Series on this one. We'll just talk football with Stan Weber. That comes your way next, right here on Danny and Stan's Football Weekend, presented by Park University.
Before you spend your time and money going after an MBA, ask yourself why. Is it so you can tell people you got your MBA? So you can add a line to your CV? So you can call it a CV instead of a resume? Truth is, any MBA will do that. On the other hand, if your goal is to learn how to successfully manage and grow a business with real-world insights from experienced professionals, well, consider getting your MBA from Park University. Our low student-to-teacher ratio gives you personalized attention, and our face-to-face and online classes offered in 8-week terms are designed with working professionals like you in mind. No wonder the Kansas City Business Journal ranks Park University as the top MBA program in the area. Classes begin June 10th at all 4 KC area locations: Parkville, Downtown, Independence, and Lenexa. Visit park.edu to get started.
I was duped, and I recommend you be next. For better or worse, the ultra-realistic impression of me sits now in my wife's office to spook her on a daily basis. So what is Doob? D-O-O-B. It's the keepsake of a lifetime, a 3D-generated, incredibly lifelike figurine. 66 cameras take an image at exactly the same moment in any pose, and state-of-the-art 3D technology transforms that into exact replicas of you, anyone you know or love, a pet, whomever is close to your heart. Create lifetime memories with a Doob. Visit their Facebook page at Doob 3D Kansas City, or better yet, see their incredible creations. Visit their location down on the plaza in the heart of it at 231 West 47th Street in KC Mo. Doob, be next. Are you thinking of starting a new business? Does your current business feel stuck? Or are you just trying to grow what you already have? Running a business is a lot of work, and it takes the right team to make it all happen. If you're looking to grow your business, call my friends Ben and Greg over at Fuego Consulting. They put together a company that can help you reach your business goals. Whether you're looking to get online, build a social media strategy, or rebrand your business, they can help. Call Fuego at 816-663-9695 or visit them online at fuegoconsulting.com. Fuego Consulting. Let's grow your business together.
There's no need to get a case of the Mondays every week, not during football season anyway. Hey, this is Matt Llewellyn from the 23rd Street Brewery, and we are the place for Monday Night Football. Food and drink specials every week, and all new televisions always at 23rd Street Brewery. The hardest thing about Mondays now will be getting through the workday, although waking up on Tuesdays might be a little bit tough. But remember, watch all the Chiefs games, NFL games, every game at the 23rd Street Brewery.
Stan, the Chiefs don't get the win in the game that Patrick Mahomes doesn't play. Maybe one of two, maybe the only one. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think fans really very much like the sight of Patrick Mahomes walking about the field, tossing the football around. Although to me, he looked pretty ginger, I'll say that, when I was looking at it. But he has kind of a funny way of walking anyway for a fantastic athlete. But anyway, they don't win the game. They drop down 14-0. Looks like they're going to get killed, and you're kind of like, okay, well, that's kind of what we expected. And in the end, they play a good, tough, competitive National Football League game. But I think that a little too much of a moral victory is sort of the assessment of the fans. But I want to get your overall set. I think an overall arc, to give my opinion first, it was a pretty good night for the Chiefs. They did a lot of things right. They fought. so on and so forth. But the things they didn't do well enough, I think, are the most important things of the night. Being unable to cover backs out of the backfield, giving up 31 points, unable to stop the team at the end and get their offense back on the field. So while certainly there are excuses, there are injuries and everything else, the thing that was in place that was a negative has a carryover capability that is dangerous for the Chiefs, to me anyway.
It is. I think it depends on what attitude you have. Are you saying without Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs are just a third of themselves and you don't have much of an expectations? I think that's not the way I look at it, Danny, because like you're saying, I'll interpret it a little bit. The Chiefs are a division-winning team, a playoff team, without a doubt, with Andy Reid as a head coach and with his lineup they have. Lethal offensive weapons. Now, if you told me that all those guys were not available and Hill and Kelsey and Mahomes weren't available, then I'd shake your hand and say, okay, this is a different outlook. But even without Patrick Mahomes, I thought Moore would play exactly like he did. It's not too big for him. Andy Reid's a great coach. They would coach with some complementary football mentality in the game, and the Chiefs players would rise up and play well, knowing they needed to play well. All those things happened, and so they were put in a position to have a chance in the game, to have a real chance. And after getting punched in the mouth, it was really impressive. Down 14-0, you go, uh-oh. Aaron Rodgers just came off a game where he had a perfect quarterback rating, first time in his career. Best passer rating of his career, 5 touchdown passes, 1 rushing. He dominated the week before, and you go, here we go again. There's no match for these Packers. But the Chiefs turn it around, led at half, including a missed field goal. Could have easily been 20-14. So nice comeback at the end of the third quarter. They're tied, and they're playing a pretty even football game. So to me, that's the game played out exactly like I expected it to be. Chiefs and the Packers should be very close opponents. The Packers are not a dominating team. I know the record looks dominating, but they're not. They're a quarterback. They are an unbelievable quarterback and a super fast running back that's hot right now. And those two guys combined really make them lethal on any given play. But play after play, they're not perfect, and on defense, they're not even that good. So the Chiefs just beat up on a team that's not that good on defense. So not a big surprise. Moore played well, not a big surprise. Andy Reid coached like crazy, got the fast guys the ball in the right positions and made the Chiefs look good on offense. Not surprised at all. But you know what else is not surprising? If Patrick Mahomes would have been standing there full uniformed up and walking around however he walks around, getting ready for another possession, he'd be sitting with his butt on the bench waiting for the defense to stop the run, and it isn't going to happen. I mean, when he didn't go for fourth down, and it's not the worst decision in the world because it wasn't just 1 first down, it was 2. The Packers had to get 2 first downs to burn through the Chiefs' timeouts, the 2-minute warning, and all those things. So, they had a punter execute it and drop the ball down to the 1 or 2 yard line. So there's really sound reasoning for punting the football. But I had my alert go on because I go, the Chiefs have been thought to be good on defense throughout this game. I'm telling you, I do not believe that they're going to stop the run when the Packers need to go. I think the Packers are going to run out the clock, and they did. And they did it mostly running the football, even though backed up at the 2 yard line, the first play, zip right through the Chiefs. Now, Spagnuolo's doing a good job. We bragged him up the previous week on what he did in the ball game, and what I said is he brought guys up to the line of scrimmage. He's not going to allow teams to beat him in the run because he doesn't have enough guys up there. Tyrann Mathieu is up at the line all the time. The linebackers are in a tough position, meaning they're not lined up 5 yards away from the ball. Go watch the Dallas Cowboy game and see where Van Der Esch and those guys line up. They line up 5 to 7 yards off the ball and then run at angles. That's kind of linebackers, right? The Chiefs have quasi-defensive line position. Their linebackers are up in the line of scrimmage a lot, faking blitzes, but mostly just trying to cause havoc with all-run gaps, all-run blocking angles. He puts Reggie Ragland in the game, which I think is big shoulder pads. He did that against the Denver Broncos. A lot of things. He's addressed it. He's not just sitting there taking it. But when you do that, you're going to give up stuff. And the Chiefs are. They're saying we're going to play man-to-man. We're going to cover your guys. Those guys have done a nice job. The secondary is under a lot of pressure. There's not a lot of guys back there, Danny, and there's a ton of man-to-man. And so far it's working. But anytime you get a play that goes 5 yards, what did I tell you about the Denver Bronco game? What did I say about the run where he got tripped up? Right. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You do a lot of work. You may not remember me telling you that.
I do remember that exactly, you saying that.
I said when the Broncos running back got tripped up and he gained 7 yards falling on his face, that if he would have stayed up, it's a touchdown because there was no second wave of Chiefs. On a down-the-line pass to the running back, there is no second wave of the Chiefs. When he had 5 yards, it was all over. Now, I don't know what you saw on TV, Danny. I was in a stadium, so it's a whole different viewplane. I can tell you it was all over when the first block was made because the Chiefs are up there tight to the line of scrimmage. I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying it takes a lot of firepower to get the run game even to average. It's not great. It's average. It's not reliable. And then they can put you in a bind when you got those guys in situations. The Packers did a great job at dictating. You can say he did a good job of defensive coordinating. I'm going to say this. He did a great job of trying to slow that run game down and put pressure on the quarterback with 5 sacks. But the Packers totally dictated running backs against linebackers. The Chiefs did not adjust. They need to probably have a safety or cornerback go out and cover a wide receiver, because twice on critical third downs, they just ran a quick out with a wide receiver a running back against a linebacker, and it's the easiest throw ever for Aaron Rodgers. The pressure didn't matter. That last play at the 2-minute warning, it was just a quick out to a running back against a linebacker. And the story of the day was running backs put it up against linebackers. But I think the Chiefs are giving it a shot. They're a division-winning team. I'm positive about it. Should you pat them on the back too much? I don't know. They fought back from 14-0, but Green Bay's not great on the road. Rodgers is not always great on the road. But I said this not on this podcast, but on Between the Lines on Friday morning. I said Aaron Rodgers gets first choice. Aaron Rodgers, if he plays well, wins the game, and I don't care if Patrick Mahomes plays. Aaron Rodgers has those magical days where stuff happens and he does not lose. And that happened. Overall, at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers won the game. Go to my point number 1, and the Chiefs did not mess up. That's the positive. Oh, by the way, Aaron Rodgers' touchdown pass in the back of the end zone from right to left on your TV screen, he wasn't even throwing it to that guy. Danny, I was sitting right behind him. When he was falling down, he was just throwing the ball away over the two guys who were at the goal line.
To his credit, he said that he was throwing the ball high where he thought Jimmy Graham might be able to go up and get it, and the guy behind him might be able to get it.
Yeah. You saw his reaction, and I saw his reaction on the ground. He was throwing the ball maybe where Graham could maybe get it, and he had no idea that the guy running along the back line of the end zone. But that sometimes good players just get the luckiest stuff to happen. But earlier in the game, when the Chiefs were really in good situation and it was third down, the one that Andy Reid had a challenge, it was unbelievable. I also saw that one well in the stadium. He was so covered. There's no way he should have thrown the ball to him. But that's Aaron Rodgers. This week is the big challenge, because now the Chiefs have 3 losses. And there's still working room to win the division. There's plenty of working room. But they've lost 3 home games in a row.
Right.
3 total is outrageous for a Super Bowl champion. You go through the annuals of all the Super Bowls, Danny, there are hardly any teams that have lost 3 home games and won a Super Bowl. Then the Minnesota Vikings, I think, match up with the Chiefs worse, for the Chiefs' perspective, than the Packers. The Packers are about one guy, Aaron Rodgers. If he goes off, he beats you. But the Vikings' defense is better. The Vikings' running game is better, and they have deep ball threats as well off of play action. Minnesota may come in here and lay an egg, but I think the Minnesota game of the 2 worried me more. I'll be less surprised if they lose to Minnesota than Green Bay, and you start adding it up. It's just not a good trend. So does Patrick Mahomes come back this week? Does he pull them out of the fire? A lot of tough questions from the medical people to the ownership about what about our greatest asset, Patrick Mahomes, down to the coaching staff. Tons of questions, plenty of reason to be concerned, not upset that the Chiefs aren't a good team. Don't throw in on the season, but plenty of problems, Danny, that would have been there if Patrick Mahomes was there, because he wouldn't have helped Aaron Rodgers make magical plays. And if Patrick would have made 2 more magical plays, Aaron Rodgers would have made 2 more magical plays. So he could not beat Aaron Rodgers by himself. He needs that defense to get him off the field when they have their chances. They did some, but they didn't at the end of the game. And again, they're not reliable stopping the run. Chiefs are good, but they're not great. Maybe they just need some health. I'd rather have momentum at the end of the year in the middle if you got a choice. God doesn't always let it work out that way. But, Danny, you can be concerned and not patting yourself too hard on the back, because you got to win games in the NFL. The train doesn't stop, man. Teams are continuing to play. New England's going to get the number 1 seed. We can give them that.
Yeah.
The Chiefs still have a chance to be the number 2 seed. Just be glad we're not in the NFC. There are a lot of good teams over there. This Super Bowl is going to be pretty amazing, because I think you're either going to have the Patriots and the savvy they have, or Patrick Mahomes and the unbelievable upside the Chiefs have in the Super Bowl against a very good, solid, all-around NFC. I'm talking about defense, offense, special teams.
It would have just beaten a
couple teams.
It would have just beaten a couple of really good teams to get there too.
Yeah, I don't think the Packers are the top of the bunch in the NFC.
Right. I wanted to ask you one more thing, because you covered it so well there, as you often do. Andy Reid, it really caught my ear after the game. I think most people were thrilled with the job that Matt Moore did. 3 times, Andy Reid said he played a respectable game. Maybe it was just him using the word oddly, but I was sitting there watching it. I'm like, why is he so reluctant to give praise to Matt Moore? I mean, respectable just means he kind of went out there and handed the ball off. I mean, he was better than that. I didn't quite understand. Andy Reid doesn't say things up at that podium without a reason. And I was just taken aback by 3 times him just calling Matt Moore's performance respectable. Is he spoiled?
No, I think Andy understates everything, about how poorly they played. He'll not really buy into that. And I find, this is just a guess, I don't have a great feel for this, but I'm thinking what he's saying is, you're not going to get me much off of just boring middle, and I'm not going to get too excited. And I think it's a great compliment to Moore, because Matt Moore wants to win. He is not high-fiving his wife after the game and going, I just tried to replace Patrick Mahomes. I was coaching high school a couple months ago. I didn't play in the NFL last year. I think I gave it a great shot tonight. I'm kind of surprised I did that well myself. That's fine. He deserves to say all those things to his spouse. But I think Matt Moore is such a good pro that he's thinking, we got to win. My job was to win for the Kansas City Chiefs.
And we didn't do it.
And I love that about him. I mean, he's not looking over his shoulder going, well, I'm not Patrick Mahomes. No, I really like him so much. The reason why I believe in him is because he would have taken it as a loss. And I think Andy Reid wants to perpetuate that mentality, not take it away from him. I don't think he wants to plant the seed in Moore's mind that they have a sliding scale grading system for his play. And I think that's more of a compliment to the quarterback, that if you stay hard on him and say we didn't win, he'll come in today and study the tape and go, I didn't do enough. And that's the perfect mentality in case he has to quarterback another game or two.
Absolutely. Good thoughts there. I wanted to get your side of it. That was just literally after a long weekend of watching sports, it's pretty hard to perk your ears up at 11:30 at night, and that did it for me. A lot of things to perk your ears about college football. Let's get into it with Stan coming up next on Danny and Stan's Football Weekend.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Looking for a truly unique escape from your normal entertainment or corporate team-building regimen? Stay tuned for an exclusive offer only for Reasonably Irreverent listeners. I'm excited to tell you about an extraordinary destination, the Exit Room, located in the heart of beautiful downtown Lee Summit. The Exit Room is a distinctive entertainment option that offers a cool alternative to the normal couples night out, family get-togethers, and corporate team-building events. The Exit Room is a one-of-a-kind boutique escape room catering to special occasions and corporate team-building events and is unmatched in the Kansas City metro. With 5 individually designed and varied escape room adventures, your party or employees can unplug from their electronic world, interact with one another, match wits, and ultimately escape the humdrum of the ordinary. The Exit Room adventures cross decades and centuries and create fascinating fun. I know the owners well. They are local folks, their staff is warm and friendly, their lobby is inviting and beautiful, and their adventures are award-winning. Check online. There are over 1,000 reviews, and note that they are a rare 5-star ranked business. Visit their website and Facebook page, and any of my listeners who books online at theexitroomkc.com using the promo code ClinkScale19 gets 10% off any ticket purchase. The Exit Room in Lee Summit. Unplug, interact, and escape. Sumner One is the company to make your office maximize efficiency. Their family of companies make up one of the largest independent dealers of office technology in the Midwest. They are proud to bring the best service and technology to top companies across the region. Sumner One can help your organization run more smoothly than ever. Sumner One printers, copiers, MFPs, managed print services, document management, infrastructure design, IT services, disaster recovery, and business continuity. Welcome to the one place where everything works. For more information, call Carl Little at 913-752-2256. We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is "Where Integrity Matters." Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McRaeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
Back with Stan as we bring you Danny and Stan's Football Weekend presented by Park University. Wow, big wins, big thoughts, big gaffes in college football in the games that we watch. And first off, let's start with the Wildcats. You go out and beat a top-5 opponent and kill them, basically. It's something. Oklahoma comes out. You've heard me say this many, many times. To me, 10-0 is about the worst start for a favored football team that you can get, and they got it. And I'm not going to take anything away from K-State. You're not going to just tell me that Oklahoma laid down. They just down after series after series. K-State was great. I guess the question is, with a team that this year has won 2 games where they didn't even get 300 yards, where did this come from?
When Oklahoma walks in the stadium, the helmets look different. The blood flows differently. I'll call it adrenaline as a positive statement. But, Danny, there is a little bit of fear of getting embarrassed. This happens all the time. Kansas led Oklahoma 7-0 in the first quarter and was a pick 6 away from having another touchdown. I wish you could create that mentality all the time, but you cannot fake out human beings. When Oklahoma State or Iowa State walks on the field, you go, hey, if we play as well as we did against Oklahoma, even Kansas, if we play like we did in that first quarter against Oklahoma, we're going to beat almost everybody. Absolutely you will, but you can't recreate it. So, part of it's just you are on edge knowing you got to do everything right. And it takes everybody on the team to do everything right. And then you get such momentum if they gain 2 yards. I mean, when you give a 2-yard run against TCU, you're like, well, we should have tackled him for no gain. Why did he fall forward? Against Oklahoma, he can fall forward, and you go, oh, hey, that wasn't 8 yards. They averaged 9.6 per play. Good start. So everything builds on itself. But it does take great composure because not only was it 10-0, it was 17-7. Oklahoma was rolling up and down the field, had one of the most amazing trick plays ever. And I either hit it right on the head or didn't know what I was saying in the first quarter when I said to Wyatt on the K-State Sports Network, Wyatt, I have no criticism of the K-State defense. I know they've given up 17 points.
I was listening.
They're playing great. But I didn't think they would be rewarded. I mean, you're down 17-7 already, and they've already had their luck. I mean, they had some lucky plays. But I go, well, now they're going to get back to their skill plays, and they're already 10 points up. I was so happy that K-State, after being down 10-0, because they went 3-0 in the first series, they're down 10-0 already. Before they snapped the ball, even on their second series, that they got a first down and they came off the ball. And it was just so encouraging that they drove down and even scored a touchdown. But I was just patting the guys on the back going, you're playing great. The mistakes are not there. The little things you did wrong against TCU are not apparent. You've upped your game. You've improved. Congratulations. Too bad it's going to happen against Oklahoma. Again, I had this. Bruce Weber came up to our booth. And when we went off the air after we spoke, he's like, wow, look at that. And I go, Bruce, the biggest thing is how they finish the rest of the game because this happens often to teams. They play really well, and then you say, darn, we lost to Oklahoma by 7 or 10. 2 years ago, Baker Mayfield's team almost lost to K-State. You don't remember that, Danny. K-State had a 11-point lead at the half, but they lost. And you go away going, well, all we have to do is play like that the rest of the year, and we'll go undefeated. But K-State didn't play like that. That ended up being too high. So I told Bruce Weber, he's around these athletes. I go, they're playing out of their mind today, and then they could barely miss and then go to the next game and barely miss. You can't have that where you're playing to the level of your competition. So the good news was they didn't let up, and K-State played so well. They were the better team at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
You can argue that Oklahoma may not have respected K-State enough to just change everything up and go for broke to try to stop what the Wildcats were doing. They don't need to do that. They're OU. That kind of played to K-State's hands because whatever formation they ran when they got close to the goal line, OU was in it, and K-State ran it in through the red zone, 4 rushing touchdowns. And a lot of fans were like, do they not know the quarterback's going to run? And K-State's like, no, the defense they have set up cannot stop this. And
right.
so Oklahoma's been given a lot of credit for how good their defense is, but Danny, let's just think real quick. Let's substitute Kansas City Chiefs defense in for Oklahoma. Remember what I said all summer? Just because you want to blame it on the last defensive coordinator and you want to say the next one's great, as soon as the players realize, all you got to do is pop that bubble, take away off their Halloween costume, and they realize they're the same person. Oh, crap, look in the mirror, I'm the same. If that makes sense. I mean, that's the Chiefs' defense. They're not that much different. Well, you know what? Oklahoma's defense might not be that much different than last year's, who was about 114th or 118th in the nation.
Right.
So Oklahoma's made strides, but no one has been able to punch them in the mouth and say, I'm not so sure your defense is dominant. And when K-State did that, the next opponent's going to be easier for the next opponent to go, why can't we score against Oklahoma? It takes somebody. Someone has to punch the bully in the mouth, and that's a great credit for K-State. That is not easy to do, to outplay them physically at the front wall and be the better team during the day on a day that Oklahoma didn't make a lot of stupid mistakes, okay? Oklahoma's Jalen Hurts, Heisman Trophy candidacy, when his stat line goes up with the rest of the games and they all blur together and are talking about stats at the end of the year, this one's not going to stick out. He put up big numbers, running and passing. CeeDee Lamb, the bad dude, the guy that Texas can't tackle, he's the guy K-State couldn't tackle when he went 70 yards on one play. CeeDee Lamb's numbers, way over 100 yards. He had the touchdown. He almost took a punt return back for a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb was a giant factor. Jalen Hurts was a giant factor. Usually that's enough. You just stop the tape and say,
right.
OU won. No, they were behind. K-State went on. This is a basketball term, Danny. You've done plenty of basketball. Do you realize after it was 17-7 that K-State went on a 41-6 run against Oklahoma?
Right.
Before they started looking up the clock. I know Oklahoma's good, and that 70-yard run mattered, but everyone was like, oh, OU, they definitely were going to beat K-State. No, K-State was starting to look up at the clock. If you wouldn't have told them there was an end of the game, they would have kept pounding their butt. They would have kept pounding Oklahoma. But at some point, you look up with 10 minutes left and you go, let's just run the clock. Let's just try to run this thing out. And as soon as you have that mentality, you don't play your best football. It was amazing. Great performance by K-State. And now, will they be able to replicate this? When you lose, it's doubtful that you replicate your best performances against the best teams. When you win, you start saying, why not? Will we see a quantum leap?
Right.
Will we see K-State's line get their confidence back and take it to the next level? And I tell you what, Skylar Thompson's back on the train that he was earlier in the year when on College Game Day, I asked Kleiman about the NFL quarterbacks he's been around at North Dakota State, and I said, well, how about Skylar? Skylar played unbelievable again, just almost perfection on his throws, his audibleizing, and even the one thing he had really slipped into a bad tendency is when he rolls out and a play's broken down, he'll try to run through one or two defenders and lose 7 yards, 5 yards, instead of just tossing the ball out of bounds and going, I'll take the incompletion. That was such a great sign early against Oklahoma. He fired the ball in the stands. I go, thumbs up, dude. You're doing everything right today, too, and he kept on going. So K-State's playing at a high level. Will they be able to sustain it? We'll see. They had some injuries, like having Jordan Brown back at running back really helps. And even Gilbert, who was a 100-yard rusher and pounding Oklahoma, he came out the field limping. So how healthy are the K-State two main running backs is the question this week when they get ready to play KU.
And we'll get into the game because the opponent will be KU, and KU played a remarkable game, another game where the team was way down. I was out to dinner with my wife at that point in time. I had asked for the Astros game to be put on the TV because it was about to start, and because Kansas was losing 17-0 already. I asked for the Kansas game first. They didn't get it, and then right when the baseball game was about to start, here's the Kansas game. And so they come roaring back from 17-0, and once that game was blow for blow, Kansas again played really good football. Now, they could have won the game in overtime. I will point that out. But it took I went on Twitter, I said, that might be the stupidest play I've ever seen in the history of football. I mean, literally. I didn't see any quotes from the young man. I looked for him today. I don't think he spoke. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and the only thing that mitigates this by 0.05% is if he thought the clock had run out. If he thought the clock had run out, I can forgive a little bit what he did. But still, you're 90 yards away from the other end zone. And then, oh, my God, I felt terrible for him. He's a good player. He's leading the country in interceptions. But Kansas gets that second life. But that wacky play shouldn't take away from the fact that Kansas once again was excellent on offense. Carter Stanley went off. He's the Big 12 Player of the Week. And whoever thought that would happen, he can shine that little plaque or whatever he gets for the rest of his life. Just remarkable for the Jayhawks.
I do mine also, Danny. Did you help me shine it that one day you're over at my house?
Is it a plaque?
I know it
is
is
it a
around
plaque?
there. It's a little plaque, yeah.
Yeah.
I was Big 8 Player of the Week one time.
I hope they still give him a plaque.
Against number 1 Oklahoma. I think they do. It means a lot to the kids. And if anybody thought Carter Stanley could be a dangerous or successful quarterback, I'm waving my hand over here 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I said he was the choice to give Kansas a chance. Now he's turned himself into a reliable, predictable player in this sense. He throws a great deep ball. He gets rid of it quickly. He throws a good spiral, and it's accurate. So he is not refined and become reliable on all the mid-range passes. He doesn't deliver every one of those. But, boy, it isn't bad to be called something like the Mad Bomber. Old Darryl LaMonica was actually called the Mad Bomber.
Yes.
When the Raiders and Chiefs were at war and to go to Super Bowls, when the AFL was started. Right. It was the Chiefs and the Raiders, and it was the Mad Bomber, Darryl LaMonica, number 3. Danny remembers him. Go look it up on YouTube or something. Google it. But really, Carter Stanley is throwing a deep ball. The receivers are good enough to go get it. They got speed, and they got Puka Williams to run. It puts a great strain. It's just as simple as this, Danny. The defense is under great strain. Every tendency is for them to come up and load up the box and keep everyone where they are, because like a Barry Sanders or something, you can't go try to tackle Puka Williams. You have to let him come to you, and you got to fight the blockers and stay along the line of scrimmage and just make a big wall. And wherever he chooses after he spins and turns, Red Rover, didn't we hold hands and try to not let him bust through?
You need help.
Yes, we that's the way you play defense against him. That means you need to have a lot of guys up there. Wait, that and covering the deep ball are two totally incongruent possibilities, and that's where they put the strain on you. Forget this RPO stuff. Is he going to run or throw a quick slant? Well, that doesn't hurt teams. What hurts teams is Puka getting the ball, and I need 8 or 9 people up at the line of scrimmage, widening our group of players' wall pretty wide, more than hash mark to hash mark of guys in the right position. I can't do that and help out down deep at all. And one-on-one, the Kansas receiver does not have to have a lot of room for the ball to be delivered. So they have a great offensive scheme right now. They are throwing the deep ball and running the ball, and either one of them can be big plays. Can they go 3, 4, 7, 6, 4, 7? That's not Kansas football right now. But it scares the heck out of the defense. They are on their heels no matter where the ball goes, to Puka or deep. Texas Tech had no answers. They did not look confident. They weren't attacking. They were hoping something bad didn't happen to them. And if you give Kansas a big credit, there's not much better that you can say about a team, no matter how good they are, Danny. If they finish the game like NBA teams finish their game, the last half of the fourth quarter in an NBA game, they get after it. But you know who always wins? The Warriors. Both teams pick it up and they play great, and the Warriors win. You make winning plays. And right now, Kansas played the Longhorns completely off their feet in the fourth quarter and finished that thing off. And they did the same thing against Texas Tech. It's good to come back from 17 and all those things, but the offense is really good and really hard to stop. And I think it's going to be true of all the Big 12 teams. There's no Big 12 defense that has the guys to stop Puka up front just rushing 4 and dropping guys into coverage. If anybody might get by with it, this will be so much fun to watch. Iowa State. They're a good tackling team. They play that 3-3-5. But when that umbrella of 5 people, when they come running up toward the line of scrimmage, they've got to break down perfectly, be in the right position, and make tackles together. And even Puka might get them out of that look and say, you can't try to come tackle me starting 10 yards off the ball. You're going to have to scoot up. And as soon as those safeties scoot up in that Iowa State system and get out of their umbrella, you know what happens? The passing game opens up. They can't be in both places. They want to play a 3-man rush and an 8-man drop or a 4-man rush. Will they be able to do it against Puka? Iowa State's interesting. Maybe Baylor. Those two teams play defense in a way that might put Kansas in a bind. But every other team in the Big 12, including, well, they already played Oklahoma and Texas, are in a bind right now if he hits the deep balls. If he overthrows 2 deep balls, it might be the difference in Kansas scoring only 14 points in a game rather than 31. That's how quickly it can go away when you rely on the deep ball so much. But now it's a core part of the Kansas offense.
Well, let's talk about some bad stuff here to conclude. Missouri Tigers.
Do I do the MIZ or the ZOU? Do you start or me? Oh, did I predict right who you're talking about?
No.
I thought maybe you were talking about Nebraska. They got beat by Indiana.
Yeah, that was not good either.
They didn't expect that to happen.
No, that was not good either. But Missouri, as a double-digit favorite again, 2 consecutive times out on the road. This game was not as inexplicable as the one against Vanderbilt. However, the way they lost it again was kind of inexplicable. A burst of 22 points by Kentucky. Missouri's offense not even able to get close to 300 yards. Was Kelly Bryant just benched, or was he hurt? I mean, Barry Odom said he was hurt. He kind of looked like he was hurt, but didn't look like he was hurt maybe enough to come out of the game. Crossroads right now, and Barry Odom we talked about it last week. He circled the wagons in these situations, but that was last week, and now they went out and did it again, and now they have to sit on a bye, and then the game afterwards is against Georgia. It's bad tidings right now for the Tigers.
It is. The Vanderbilt game just is unacceptable. Not so much for me being mad. It's just when you sequence games out, Danny, there are certain points in the season where you just have to find a way to win. Hey, K-State against TCU, that was a point. There's little decision points in the season where you get to go in a very positive manner or the other direction. You go, well, can't I just weigh that like in the middle? No, the road really goes to where the sun is or where it's raining. And the Vanderbilt game didn't need to be a game like that, but it was because you're so much better than Vanderbilt, and they have so many problems. You just got to go win the game. I don't mind if you play poorly, uninspired, and win by 3. Just get out of there with a win and then get focused to Kentucky. But when you lose that game, you expose so many flaws, and the biggest one we spoke about is how good is Kelly Bryant. Not how good is Kelly Bryant under every scenario on earth. How good is he in this situation where he has to go win a game like he does at Mizzou? At Clemson, he never had to win the game. He got the joy of walking around campus and being the quarterback of a national championship-level team. I mean, that would be fun, Danny. But the other side of it is when I've been there, you walk around campus and you go, I don't know if I'm good enough to carry my whole team. Not that they're bad, it's just I'm not good enough. And I have to. I mean, when I walk around campus, I have to play great or we're not going to win. And, oh, by the way, there's at least when I walked around campus, me personally, they didn't believe I was going to do it, and I didn't believe I was going to do it, so it worked out okay. I just said, let's go. But when Kelly Bryant goes into class, everybody's like, it'll be easy. I mean, he's a Clemson quarterback. This is going to be easy. They'll easily beat Kentucky. All he has to do is just run a little bit more because everyone's mad that even though he ran for 75 yards or whatever against Vanderbilt, he should have ran more. Just take the game in your hands and go win this thing. And you think it's going to happen. And that's where I shook my head and said, no, you can't do that against Kentucky. Kentucky's offense is very predictable. It's all about the run. The defense isn't as good as it's been in the past, but it's on the road. Mark Stoops is a good coach. They're going to fight like crazy. They like playing against Mizzou. And by the way, the blueprint was laid out for them. Just look at the blueprint over there. Vanderbilt showed you a way to beat Mizzou. And unless Mizzou changed tremendously, it was going to be easier for Kentucky to beat Mizzou than Vanderbilt by far. And that's the problem. You knocked over the first domino. So now the second domino fell over, and Missouri, a team that should, going into the year, be 8-0, give them a little room. It's college football, 7-1, and I guarantee you no worse than 6-2. I mean, you and I could have talked about this on how many different shows. You've done a lot of them. I've done a lot of them on the air, off the air. Every time we spoke, Danny, it would have been Missouri 6-2 at minimum. I mean, no matter what happens, it's 6-2, and more likely 8-0 than 6-2. 7-1 most probable, just because stuff happens. And now they're getting to the tough part of the schedule. After a week off in November where the weather's getting kind of cold and it's no fun to do anything. Everyone's kind of in a dour mood. So where are you with Mizzou, and where's Kelly Bryant? Where's his head? Is it just his feelings are hurt or his body? I don't know, but they played Georgia, and maybe that's good because let's go back to the K-State Oklahoma factor. You don't have time to mess around. When you're playing OU, no one cares if you're crying or laughing. You better be careful or they'll bust your jaw.
Right.
And that may help Mizzou. play because they do have the capability at playing at a higher level. But right now, if you want to guess the best probability, I would say that they don't win a road game this year. I think that they're going to lose to Georgia. Oh, that's a real,
right,
big statement. But they lose to Georgia. They might beat Florida at home, but I think now they're likely to lose at Tennessee. I think that's their other road game, if I'm not mistaken. So, you may look at 5 losses on the road if that comes true, and I think it's in play. And then if you don't beat Florida, I know Missouri always beats Florida, and it'll be cold, and those boys won't like it, and they'll overlook Mizzou. But if Mizzou doesn't beat Florida, you're 6-6 on a year that there's no way you'd be worse than 8-4,
right?
Almost under any scenario. So disappointment is right there in the face of the Tigers. I don't know how they'll handle the week off, and I don't know how Barry Odom circles the wagons, because the time that he did it in the past, the giant time he did it, it just came out of nowhere, and he tripled down, and basically I thought put his job on the line by spouting out so strongly that we're fine, we're going to get better, don't worry about it. And sure enough, they took off and won. So we don't want to write him off right now. But I go back and say this: they lost Garrett. He was such an inspirational player, a points maker. Mm-hmm. So that hurts on the defense on so many things. And we even talked about even getting everybody lined up in the right position. Or when Kentucky's beating up on you a little bit, just confidence. Like, guys, let's stop it right here.
Right.
And that might be enough to make the play to get the offense going. He's also the guy that goes, hey, I just made a play. I just tackled that guy on 3rd and 2, and we shouldn't have stopped him. Come on, Kelly, go. Walking by a quarterback when you're a star linebacker, right, sometimes you're the one that gives them confidence, not the coach, because their words are always the same. Hit coach's statement, hit coach's cliche. It doesn't matter if your team is 2-10 or 10-2. The coaches say the same thing, Danny, to the quarterback. So sometimes it's a player, but there's pressure on Kelly Bryant. How are you going to play? It's all on you. You're walking around campus, and I don't care if you're bruised and sore or not, you got to go win the game for the Tigers. The rest of the guys will follow your lead. If you play well, you might even be able to upset Georgia. You don't play well, you leave Arkansas in the game. Yeah. Remember Arkansas, the game that was the guaranteed win? It isn't hard to even say it's a rivalry because Mizzou's got them. Well, Missouri's at risk right now, but all the pressure's on Kelly Bryant. And this is not Clemson pressure. It was not as pressurized for him to get ready for Alabama as it's going to be for him to go to Tennessee, for instance.
Great quarterback analysis is just part of what we always get with Stan Weber, and I just love it. Thanks again, Stan. Always fun. We'll talk to you on College Football Game Day, talking Sunflower Showdown on Saturday, and back here next week.
Full show this Saturday, 9 o'clock. I'll be glad to see you then, Danny.
All right, sounds good. Stan Weber on Danny and Stan's Football Weekend, presented by Park University.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like the Exit Room of Lee's Summit. Come with friends, family, colleagues, or a team to tackle the challenges of this unique escape room.